If you've ever thought about throwing in the towel and quitting your business and you've gotten to a point in your life where you're like, this is too hard, this podcast is for you. Hi, I'm Kayla and I'm your host of the Profitable Salon podcast, and I am hanging out with Jason Everett. What's up, Jason?
What up, Kayla? Glad to be
What's
on with you.
up?
We're
I
talking about throwing in
know.
the towel today. That's what we're talking about. Like, do you want to quit?
Yeah. If you've ever been in a place where like my business is just not what I thought it was going to be. Because I feel like with
That's
everybody in
everybody,
business.
by the way.
Yeah,
Can I just
I know
tell
that's
you?
what I was thinking.
That's everybody. It just depends like what thing this week made you want to leave the industry. And maybe it's not industry. Maybe it's just the business. You're like, forget it.
You're like, I had a dream. Yeah. I had a dream that I wanted to open this business, and you open it and you get to a place where like, this is not what I signed up for, because there's always twists and turns. You can't predict everything. Totally. So I'd love to ask Jason first, like, what has been, in your opinion, let's talk about your business, because I know you've had quite a few, like one or two or 10 or 12. What has been the hardest part, like number one thing, the hardest part about owning a business for you?
You know, it's really interesting, and I'm going to give you kind of a long-winded answer, so I apologize in advance. But it's okay. What I want to say is this is the number one thing that when I work with business owners, and I have for 16 years, and by the way, you know, I come from a family of a fourth generation entrepreneur business owner. And so I watch my mom, my dad, my grandparents like go through this. This is the number one thing of why I exist as a business coach, is that I help people fall back in love with their business again, because it's really easy. It's the easiest thing to fall out of love with, because business owners, and I will answer your question, I promise. Business owners have a fantasy. In fact, there's a whole book on it. Michael Gerber wrote a book called The E-Myth. It's called The Entrepreneurial Myth. And what happens is people have what he calls the entrepreneurial seizure, and they work for somebody else. And they're like, you know what? The owner doesn't work at all. They don't do anything, right? They just rack in the money, and they don't work, and they take time off, and they drive a nice car, and they da-da-da-da. And here I am working my face off on a Saturday morning or late at night or whatever. And they go, screw that guy or that girl or that whomever, right? They screw them. I'm doing all the work. I should just start my own company. And they have what he calls the entrepreneurial seizure. And they go, I should be an owner. It's super easy. Look at their cush life and look at their no issues that they have and look at all of those things, which if you're a business owner, you're like, that is a crock of crap. There's rewards, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of rewards, but and the problem is when you're an employee, a lot of people are like, they don't see the problems, because business owners are really good at covering up their problems, right? Is they just like, yeah, I see the car you drive. I see the money you make. I see, you know, all those things. And so anyway, to answer this question, right, is that my number one job as a coach is to help people fall back in love with their business, because it's really easy to fall out of love with your business when you deal with it. And I had that entrepreneurial seizure. I worked for somebody else. I'm like, he's a jackass. I hated working for him. And he was super lazy and all these other things. And then I was like, I could totally run this whole company. I basically run it now anyway. And so I left and started my business. And it was way harder than I thought it was going to be, because I was like, oh, I do everything around here. But I didn't really do everything. Yeah. So I had to learn all my deficits, you know, accounting and finance. I mean, the number one meeting I want to quit the business in every single week is my finance meeting. Is like when finance is crazy, and like, Kayla, like if I told you the type of, sometimes you guys hear me complain about these things, but like if I told you the kind of chaos that I have to deal with of like, oh, I don't know, an account not having a couple $100,000 in it that's supposed to have an account in it, and like it makes me want to throw up because that money's not there, and I got to make sure employees get payroll on Thursday, and I'm like, blah. Like it's so gross. It's gross when I have to deal with those things, and then I have to like smile and be friendly when I walk out of my office. Everything's fine. It's fine. I got to go home and tell my wife it's all good. You know, like those kind of things are things that make me want to quit. But what I would say, the number one reason though that I haven't quit is I decided when I started this company specifically that there's no exit policy for me. I don't have an escape plan. This had to work. Like no matter what, this had to work. And by the way, I have had a lot of companies, and some have worked, some have not. And what I will say is, even though I've tried to have no escape clause in some of them, at some point, somebody's like, Jason, you've been dragging a dead horse for the last 2.5 years. You probably like stop. And I'm like, fine. Like really, I have a no quit. And so it takes a lot for me to stop. And what I've realized is those businesses taught me lessons to run other businesses really, really well. And I'll take that. But I have had to turn off businesses because they weren't working. And if somebody tells you that they've never had to close a business, well, that's great for them, but they're not becoming who they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Or even if they don't close down a business, they're just, they're stuck. A lot of people get stuck in their business because their passion, if you aren't driven by passion or like having a heart, like, if you don't in love with your business.
I would just say you're not stretching yourself. I'm a big fan. Like my purpose in life is to see what I'm truly capable of. Like that's what I want to know. And if that's Jason Everett's purpose, finding out what I'm truly capable of, that means I have to take risks and fail a lot. So if you're not having failures or experiencing failure, that's fine. You're just chilling in something called the good old comfort zone. And I think you should get outside of that comfort zone. My opinion. If you like your comfort zone, you like what you're doing, stay there. It's fine. Lots of people can live a very happy life inside their comfort zone. It just ain't my jam. It just ain't my jam. So
where you're at.
Answering your question in the longest possible way, where would I quit? When have I wanted to quit? I've wanted to quit when it's gotten really hard. And not hard for me, hard for others. I know I can take it. I know I can take if all my money was taken out of my bank accounts tomorrow and I had no money and everybody quit and everybody said, Jason, F you, have a nice life. I know I could rebuild it again. What I don't like is when I'm having to potentially risk other people in that sacrifice. So the thing that scares me, honestly, about growing this company more is if I knew I had to put you in jeopardy by taking a risk that somehow my failure would impact you and your son's life. That's where I get a little dicey on my growth, is that I start to do that. Because somebody said, Jason, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? And I was like, I'd take way more risks, right? But I'm like, now the problem is I'm risking 20, 30 other people's lives when I take risks. And that starts to get a little scary. So honestly, that's when I think about not being in here, as if it would be in the jeopardy of somebody else that I care for that works for me.
Dang. Wow. Well, I appreciate
that. Okay. Can I be
that was good. That was really good. I really got the chills. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And I think, you having that mindset too, just, plays into like who you are as a leader of a company, which is really good. But brings us to today's topic and talking about like embracing disruption and building your business to be able to adapt and be resilient, because those are really important parts of owning a business, to be able to adapt to changes, because you can't predict everything. There's not a single book in the world that's going to tell you exactly how to run a business. You just have to go through it and experience it.
Just to correct you, I do have a book that tells you how to run a salon business. Just to clarify, but it won't fix every problem you have, but it will fix a lot. Just to clarify,
it will fix a lot. We have people who can attest to how much it supports. So that's good. So if you want the book, comment book, or just yell at your radio.
We'll give you a free copy. We'll give you a free copy.
And then all your problems will be fixed. Not all of them.
Some of
them.
But
it does give a good. But anyway, being adaptive, like being able to adapt no matter what comes, because you can't predict. We have no idea what's going to come tomorrow. Like you don't know when you're going to wake up, or even later on today.
There's no. The sun's going to come up tomorrow. We assume it is. We assume
could be the apocalypse.
But who knows? I don't know. I'm not a doomsdayer, but I just would say I'm grateful for every day that I get to show up and I get to take a breath. I'm grateful for every day that somebody trusts me with their money. I'm grateful for every day that an employee walks through the door and says, hey, I like working here. Like I'm grateful for all of those moments, because I don't know what's going on in people's lives. And all I know is that I'm not in charge of that. I'm in charge of dealing with whatever happens. I'm not in charge of making sure it all happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's good. So in terms of the people who are listening, because I know they're like, yeah, that's great for you. I'm glad you have that perspective.
Great concepts, philosophical, great. Jason.
Yeah, thanks. I'm so glad you're doing great in that. But I'm over here struggling and ready to throw in the towel. So let's talk about like, what does that mean for the people listening, of like getting to a place, like I want to talk to the people first who are already really, really struggling. Because I know like these concepts will help those people who are not struggling as much, but those people who are listening right now. And if you're listening and you are just like, yeah, my business is burning me to the ground. Let's talk about that.
Let's just help them in general.
Yes, let's just help them. Yeah, let's jump into being like.
Well, here's what I would say. You're probably in your circumstances, not because you don't know information, but you lack the ability to implement some of the things that you know you should be doing. Think about this for a second. If somebody's like, oh no, and I'll take this is the easiest example I can ever give. It's like if somebody's overweight, they know what they need to do to be in better shape, right? Like I'm pretty clear everybody on this planet knows in order to be in better shape, you just have to eat different food and move your body differently. Like if you eat right and you exercise, like you know that that's the case, you know how to impact it and change it. Yeah. But most people are like, well, you don't understand my circumstances. I grew up in a household where we only ate mac and cheese and top ramen for my entire life, so I can't ever change that. Well, the reality is that's your story. You can change the story, but most people don't understand that their story is editable. Like, I think a lot of people think, going back to the book example, I think a lot of people think their book's already written and there's nothing they can go back and change. But in the reality is, like, we can go back and it's a working Word document. Like, that sounds silly. I know I just sound like the dorkiest Microsoft Office user. But like, go back and edit your story. And people are like, what do you mean you can't edit it? What happened already happened. I'm like, what happened already happened, but you get to write the next chapter. Is like, chapter 2, damn it. Like, chapter 8, chapter 15. Like, I grew up, like, how many of you love watching speakers or movies about somebody who came from garbage and they decided to write a new chapter? And they're like, even though I grew up in a family that was the worst for whatever reason.
Opening a new salon or remodeling? Feeling overwhelmed? We've got you. At Collins, we custom build salon equipment made just for you in Tennessee, with local reps and designers to guide you from layout to delivery. Explore at collins.co/HPSA.
My parents, my circumstances, my situation, this random stranger, my teachers, my whatever, the employer, the government, the town I lived in, blah, 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 took a dump on me. Excuse my vulgar analogy.
took a great dump.
Took a crap. I was crapped on. And I was able to come from that and do something else, not because of my circumstances, but despite my circumstances. Yeah. And I think that change has to happen internally. And again, that's why it's not about knowledge. It's not only about knowledge. That's why, like, reading a book, that's why I was joking, but like, reading a book is good to get the information. But if information was all we needed, librarians would be the richest people on planet Earth, right? Like, if information was all we needed, and again, think of it. We now live in a world where we have more information we've ever had in history, and people are getting better. I mean, I still say, like, we're still in a better place in history we've ever been, but people are arguing more than they've ever argued. Now they're arguing about the information that's even unarguable, right? And so it's not really about information. You have access to everything you need on your phone right this very second. You can get any bit of information, including everything you want to learn about running a salon, probably from us for free somewhere. But the reality is we need to work on you. We need to work on your mindset of how you view the world around you, because if I can't change your view on how you view the world around you, or I should say this way, if you don't change the view of how you view the world around you, you will be stuck exactly where you are for the rest of your life. Yeah. So when I work with people, either in the academy or one-on-one or in any of my classes that I do, or the workshops, like you were just at Unleash Human with us, and we were working on people's mindsets, is like, my job is to change their perception of reality. Right? Like, when we walked people on fire, I was changing their perception of reality. They're like, how can you do that? I'm like, let me show you. How can you spend 3 minutes in the ice bath that's 34 degrees when your body says jump out of it? How can I change my perception of reality? And if I can change your perception of reality in one of those areas, to do something like walk on fire and think that something that you thought was impossible is actually possible, all of a sudden you're like, what other stories do I have in my life that are probably bogus? Oh, wait a second. That story about my health is bogus. That story about you can't find good help these days, that all these young people out there don't want to work. Not in my town, Jason. Like, I hear that stuff every single day, and it's like body odor. Like, I can smell it on people. I can smell the victim mentality and the mindset and their negative story that they think is serving them.
Woe is me.
Right. They think that mindset is helping them somehow.
You think it's keeping them safe.
Exactly. They use that mindset as a safety net. Because if I just think that the world out there, that no young person wants to work anymore, then I just get to be proved right for the rest of my life. Yeah. See, because what happens? So think about this, Kayla. Somebody comes to work for you, and you were all excited that you finally found the one young person that wanted to work. And I don't care. Young is just younger than you, right? If you're 20 and you hire people who are 18, they're young, right? Like, young is just younger than you. So you hire somebody that you think is a hard worker, whatever. And then a month later, they're like, I don't want to work anymore. Or I want to take some time off. You're like, see, I Told you so. That attitude is protecting you from being at risk. I saw one of our mentors, Salon, she posted something about, if somebody would have told me that owning a business was just perpetually breaking up with boyfriends and girlfriends, I would have never owned a business, because it's like every month you're breaking up with, either they're breaking up with you or you're breaking up with them. And every day you're firing somebody or they're going. I was like, oh, it's exhausting to start and end relationships all the time. And it's like perpetual high school over and over again of like, are people talking trash behind your back? And like, do people want to break up with you or not? It's like, that's what you're dealing with all the time. And I kind of was like, that's pretty funny, because that's really true. You have to be an expert at starting and ending relationships to be a business owner. Dang. Starting and ending relationship with clients, starting and ending relationships with employees, starting and ending relationships with partners. It's exhausting.
Really resilient. And like, because not only are you dealing with your own head trash and your own ways of keeping you safe, but every person that walks into your salon, whether they work for you or they're your guests, they have the same story. They all have we all are walking around with our own story of the perception of our life, from our past to our present to now, and we project onto our future of what we think our life is going to be like, which is hard to be able to work through those relationships when you're building a relationship with your spouse or anybody. It's hard to work through everybody else's stories. So I love the perspective of realizing that we all have a story and we all are perceiving the world through our story. And so in order to work with people, build those relationships, being like, oh man, they like what's really happening could be a play on their story. And you may not even understand why they're acting that way. You may not understand because there's a piece of information that you don't know yet. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to dive deeper into this and talk about not only how to change that, but also how to support other people and change it for themselves. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Ready to transform your business and improve your salon's profitability? With Lonza's 3-in-1 technology and intermixable shades, your hair color inventory is streamlined with limitless creativity behind the chair. Click the link below to unveil the secret to salon success.
Welcome back to the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. I'm hanging out with Jason. We've been talking a lot. We've been going deep today. We've been getting vulnerable. We've been talking about.
I haven't cried yet, but we're
that's true. might have got a little bit.
I got a little tear.
It's always a good day when a tear is shed. But we've been talking about how to embrace disruption in your life and how like just becoming resilient. Because we know that building a business is hard. I mean, for me, I don't even own a business right now, but even working, like there's days where I'm like, I don't want to do it. I can't even imagine.
But you take ownership of your job. I want to give you full credit on that. Is like you own the podcast, you own these things. So I know it's not quite the same level of risk, but you risk your time and you risk your effort. So just don't discount that. Don't feel like that's not a part of your gig. Kayla, I just want you to know you do take ownership. So.
And I do love what I do. And I do feel like, because I have a team and I have things. I know I don't juggle all of the aspects of owning a business, but it still can get hard. And if I know that if it's getting hard for me, I can't imagine those who are like, listening and you're like, yeah, it's hard to own a business. Right. We've been talking about, we kind of ended on talking about like building your own story. So I want to talk about how do you start to change that mindset and how do you start to just like practice a different practice. And I also want to dive into helping other people because I know we work with people every day.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is like figuring out like, it sounds silly, but like you got to start just listening to this right now and gaining awareness is kind of level one. You got to be aware that you're telling yourself stories and not all the stories are true. Then you got to ask yourself like, this actually, I'll give you, this is really funny. This is coming up for me right now. My grandfather used to do personal development and he had a tip. I'm going to give you a tip from my grandfather. One of my family members quoted my grandfather the other day and I'm giving a tip from him. So rest in peace, Grandpa. He had this tip. He said there was a true, false, or I don't know. He said, when you're evaluating your story, you got to decide, is that story true? Is that false? Or I don't know. And if the story is, I don't know, it's probably false. Right. So, and again, it could be true for you now, but it might not be true for you later. And you just get to realize that like, when you say this true, false, I don't know, is this concept is like, okay, is it true that I grew up in a household that, ate poor foods? So that's why I make poor food choices. Is it true that I came from a salon that made poor choices and ended up going under or whatever? That could be true. But is it true that I have to do am I doomed to the same fate from that story? Well, is that true? Well, no, that's for sure. I'm not doomed to that same fate, but it takes a level of conscious awareness in order for you to even have that idea of, let me examine the story and say true, false, I don't know. is that the second you hear this right now, you're like, well, what stories do I need to examine in my life that are true, false? I don't know. Is it true, false? I don't know that I can have a good relationship. Like, what are the stories I believe about being involved in a relationship with another person that is true, false? I don't know. What are my beliefs and my concepts and my precepts and all these other things I get to decide? What are my beliefs about employees that come into my business and apply for jobs? Is it true that that beauty schools are only preaching booth rental and that I can't find anybody who wants to work in commission salons? And this is where people get hung up. They decide that that's true in all cases, not just true in some cases. So they take a truth, and we as human beings are truth seekers. We are always seekers of the truth. The problem is we hang out with people who believe our reality is true because it makes us feel good. So hear me out. If I'm a divorced woman, I don't know why it has to be a woman, but if I'm a divorcee, and I don't know why a divorced woman is in this, stay with me on the analogy. If I'm a divorced woman later in life, in my 40s or whatever, and I start to find other friends that are divorced women in their 40s, we're all going to share the same mindset about life. Relationships don't work. Men are terrible, whatever. And I'll use my old boss as an example. He was a divorced man in his 40s. And I remember when I said, hey, guess what? I'm getting married. And he's like, we'll see how long that lasts. And I was like, oh, I don't know about you, but I'm planning to stay married for the rest of my life. And he's like, me too, until it didn't work, because marriages are horrible. And I was like, I need to not hang out with the person who believes that. And by the way, I've been with my wife now for 16 years. We've been together for 23 years. Like, I think we're doing pretty good. We got a pretty awesome relationship, and I don't think we're going anywhere.
Are you ready to increase your retention and revenue and convert website traffic to clients? Then you're ready for Maya. Maya creates better business relationships by pairing the right clients with the right beauty professionals. Use promo code HPSA for your first 2 months free. Visit joinmaya.com to get started.
But people like to hang out with people who agree with their realities because it makes us feel good. Yeah. I'm going to throw out that one of the best things you can do if you want to start changing your stories is hang out with people you don't agree with.
Ooh.
Go find people that you don't agree with, that are not like you, that have different realities. And by the way, I like hanging out with people who have been divorced before because I like to know what kind of things I can avoid in my relationship.
Yeah.
And I like doing that. I don't want to hang out with more divorced people so I become divorced, but I do want to find out what happened and what was going on. And then I go, okay, how do I fix that? So the goal is you become a sovereign being and you can operate in your own role without being influenced by everybody else, but you allow the perspective of them to weigh into your reality, and you write and become the author of that new chapter and the author of your new reality. So you write the story on what's going on. So if I want to write the story in a salon, if I want to write the story of there's great employees out there, I'm going to go into beauty schools as a salon owner, and I'm going to start teaching them how much money they can make as a renter and how much money they can make in a commission salon. I'm going to show them and say, hey, I run a commission salon, so I'm probably biased, but I want to show you some numbers because I don't know if you guys know this, but dirty little secret about me as a commission salon owner is I rented a booth for 2 years before I opened my salon. And it was cool. And the and is I was doing all the work by myself. I couldn't take any days off. I basically was doing all the work of a business owner, but I wasn't really making the income that I deserved. So I started a salon company, and then I became a real business owner, which has employees and, has staff and helps other people grow. And like now we have this amazing community and it's great and people love each other. And we all like working together, and there's poisonous salons out there and there's incredible salons. And I just hope whether you choose to be a booth renter or you work at a commission salon and you find one that's terrible or you find one that's great, I just hope that you find your place in this industry and you stay in it forever because it's the best industry you've ever been in.
For sure.
That's the story I want to write. So I then go out there and I go, I'm going to author that story. I'm going to author that part of my reality, and I'm going to write it because that's the reality I choose to agree to. And then I want to go find other people like you might find in the academy, by the way. I'm going to find other people that believe in that same reality and that encourage me when I beat myself up and want to throw in the towel.
Yeah.
Because you invest in those relationships in the good times those relationships will be there for you in the bad times. So hang out with people who build you up and serve your face off to that group. And then you'll find support to lift you up when you're not doing so great and you want to throw in the towel, which sometimes that happens.
Especially owning a business and finding people. I love that. Thank you. If you found that helpful, comment helpful. I would love to know if you're finding value.
Hopefully it was.
And what we're talking about, because I'm hoping that it's kind of like love punching. We talk a lot about love punches here.
Yeah.
But because like when you have, you're struggling at business, who do you turn to? You like turn to, I mean, we have a free Facebook group and people comment a lot in there. We get a lot of comments of people saying, this is happening, this is going wrong. And then people kind of clutter up with it and they get like, they commiserate. They just all like, oh yeah, this happened to me and this, and that, and this. And then you see, oh my gosh, it's happening to everybody else. Well, then like, and then you start to be like, man, like this is just hard. And you start to compile on that story that it's just hard. There's
a phrase out there, Kayla, I don't know if you heard me say it. It's called trauma bonding.
Yeah. Trauma bonding.
Is that people love to say my life sucks. And if they could find more people that say their life sucks, then they don't feel as bad.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if you can find somebody whose life sucks more than yours, then you don't feel as bad. I am a big advocate of don't be careful of when you're seeking other people's trauma to validate your trauma. And trauma could be you had a walkout. It doesn't have to be like you were abused. Like it doesn't have to go that crazy. I'm just saying like it could just be you had a walkout and you want to complain about it. So you find other people to complain about when they had a walkout. Yeah. It could be like you can't find any employees and you're frustrated about it. So you do a post that says, aren't there any good people out there that actually want to work? I remember the good old days that like just get out of that mode. If you stop trying to commiserate, I think you said that. If you stop trying to commiserate with others that are struggling, you'll actually stop. So here's the deal. You either you either get around people who want to lift people up in conversation, or you get around people that are happy to talk about why they're down.
Yep.
I choose the first option. Find other people that are winning and hang out with them versus find other people that are struggling and hang out with them. So if you're struggling right now, my number one advice to you is find people who are winning and find out what the hell they're doing that's different than what you're doing.
For sure.
Because they're probably not complaining is number one is what I'll tell you.
For sure. And even people who they have like, I get the pleasure of doing interviews where I interview our clients and like consistently across all of their like, what's your favorite thing about the Academy? As they always say, the community. It's because that is the number one thing that I don't know about number one, but one of the top things that we really harness in our Academy is that's what our group is it's a group of hundreds of salon owners who don't commiserate. They bring up their problems and then on the street,
fix it.
And then they all suggest like, here's what I did. I had that last week. This is how I fixed it. This is a suggestion. And they do that. And so like, it doesn't mean you're going to find people who win all the time and never struggle. It's finding people who struggle, but they see it as glass half full and be like, oh, I'm struggling. And this is an opportunity for me to grow and to learn and to get better and to experience. And that's embracing disruption. Like when hard things come, because they're going to come into your life, it's what are you doing with those? What is the perspective 100%. That you're holding for yourself when things get hard?
Are you still guessing what your color services are actually costing you? Guessing the cost of your services is eating into your profits. With Salon Scale, you can separate your parts from your labor and charge for every drop of color used. Stop letting your back bar drain your earnings. Click the link in the description to get 10% off of your first year or start your free trial today. Salon Scale. Profit starts with every mix.
I would say it is not about if you can avoid hard things. It's how you can come back from hard situations.
Yeah.
And we started this podcast off by saying like, what are the hardest things? And like, I've just learned that the harder things I know how to manage, the bigger my business becomes. Mm-hmm. My business and your business is a direct reflection of the hardest thing you can handle. And if you can learn how to handle harder and harder things, your business will get bigger. If you don't like handling harder and harder things, then I know the size of your company. Yep. It will be directly related to the size of the problems that you can handle at the time. So instead of being mad that you're dealing with problems, and this sounds like I'm in the loony bin when I tell you this, is be excited the next time you get a problem. This is a really hard thing for me to say. I celebrate having hard finance meetings because that number I threw out about hundreds of thousands of dollars of missing from an account that we had to figure out, that's a real problem. There's people on this call that would love to have a problem like that. They would, oh my God, the fact there's even hundreds of thousands of dollars in account is an amazing thing. Well, what if it was millions of dollars, right? Like the problem that you're dealing with can be, if you go through it, uncovery you need to see to get you to the next level. And if you look at it that way, you'll celebrate the problem instead of run from it. And I hope that's helpful for people today.
Yeah, man, if that kind of hit you in the gut a little bit, comment gut punch, because that's I always love like the different perspective, because like I look back to like 10 years ago me, or not even 10, I'm not that old, well maybe 10 years ago, wow, sure. I'm almost 28.
You're at least 10 years old. Yes,
that was me becoming an adult 10 years ago. Damn.
There you go.
Anyway, but I just think about you see like you start to just attach the mentality of like, oh man, woe is me, this is hard, things like that, and just how much my life has blossomed and flourished and all that I've gotten because I've changed my perspective on when things get hard. How are you looking at it? Yeah. And so I would encourage you, as you after listening to this, I hope that you look at your biggest problem in your life right now, or in your salon, in your business. Look at your biggest problem and flip your mindset to think that this is a place where I could get to grow the most if I could just change my perspective on the biggest problem happening in your life right in this moment.
Flip it.
If you flip your perspective, that's going to be the biggest area that you're going to be able to grow in the next couple of months. If you just flip the perspective, because it's challenging. Life is challenging you to, be able to handle that big thing. Like Jason just said, you handle something big and you will grow big. Mm-hmm. And that's huge. Right. So thanks, Jason. This has been, I always love these kind of chats, and we kind of go a little bit more on the personal development side of it and get a little into it. Because it's an important part of building your business is working on you. Mm-hmm. You hear, and that's how you grow as a business owner. So if you found something helpful at all, comment helpful. I would love to know what you thought was helpful. And if you want any support, or you want to know how you can join our community of salon owners inside of our academy, comment academy, and I will love to reach out to you and tell you how you can be a part of it. So thanks, Jason, for hanging out with us today. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time on the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast.
Yeah. You've been listening to the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a review, and check us out at profitablesalon.com for more episodes, content, and to help you turn your salon into the business you've always dreamt of.